Several years ago in December, I was driving my car and I was listening to Dory Previn on the radio, whatever, Spotify, whatever. I'm listening to Dory Previn and she's singing that song about screaming in her car in 20 mile zone. And she gets pulled over and she turns to the cop and she said, you know, officer, was I speeding? And he said, lady, you were screaming in your car in a 20 mile zone by yourself. And he gave her a ticket. A couple of months later, I'm driving on 999. I was just about, actually I did make the turn on George Street. And I was on my way to a meeting and I hear this whoop, whoop, whoop. And I look at my rearview mirror and there's a cop behind me with the lights on. So I stopped and I turned to him and I'm like, officer, was I speeding? And he said, here's your ticket. I said, I was going to a meeting. Do I get any points for that? I was going to a meeting. He said, you get 5, lady. And if you get one more in 3 years, you lose your license or suspend your license and you have to go back to school to learn how to drive again, to prove you can drive. So for the next 3 years, I drove like an old lady. I never got a point in my life. I got 5 that day. I drove like an old lady. I drove like me. A couple of months after that, it was another year because it was still around December time. I'm driving east on King Street, good idea, right there, going to take a left on Queen. I was going to take that quick right in the alley, and I got a knock on my window and I looked out the window and I looked up because it was a cop, but he was on a horse. I said, officer, was I speeding? I couldn't see his eyes. He said, no, you went through a yellow light at Queen. And I tried my trick again. I'm on my way to a meeting. Can we work this out or whatever? And he said that it'll be in the mail in 2 weeks. Just watch your mail. You'll get it in the mail in 2 weeks. And then he trotted off on this horse toward the Christmas tree in the square. 2 weeks later, no ticket. I'm really anxious about the 1 point. I'm anxious. I saw his horse on the cobblestone, hitched up outside of Market one day. So I went in and I tracked him down. And I said to him, it's overdue. I didn't get my ticket. And I told him about the 1 point. And he said, it's in the mail. Watch the mail. Give it 2 weeks. I said, it's overdue. He just said, give it 2 more weeks. Well, interestingly, within 2 more weeks, I was back in Market. I like Market. And I bumped into him in full uniform at Jim's Spice stand, people who know Market. I'm like, it didn't come. It's overdue. I want a do-over. This is not okay. He's still tall. He wasn't on a horse. He leaned down to me. He looked in my eyes and whispered in my ear, it's not overdue. Merry Christmas. That's it.